We open in a North Korean prison, and it is exactly as fun as it sounds. A woman is being dragged out of a cell. She's beaten, bloodied. They're screaming at her, "Who do you work for?" And she keeps insisting she's just a businesswoman, just a regular, everyday businesswoman. Sure, honey, this is Evelyn Salt, CIA operative. And North Korea has been torturing her for months, on suspicion of being an American spy. Which she is. But she's not telling them that. Meanwhile, back home, her boyfriend, a German spider scientist named Mike Krauss, has been absolutely losing his mind trying to get her released. Mike goes so public with it, causes such a diplomatic headache, that the CIA is forced to arrange a prisoner exchange, even though that completely blows their operational cover. Evelyn is not happy about this. At the border, her CIA colleague Ted Winter, played by Liev Schreiber, is waiting for her. Ted is calm, charming, reliable, the guy you'd trust with your life. Remember that. And then there's Mike, sweet, nerdy Mike, standing there with flowers, looking at his half-dead girlfriend like she hung the moon. Fast forward 2 years. Evelyn and Mike are married. She's still at the CIA. It's their wedding anniversary. Everything is normal, everything is fine, and then a man named Oleg Orlov walks through the door. Orlov claims to be a Russian FSB officer who wants to defect. He's got information about a sleeper agent program. The CIA sits him down. Evelyn is the one running the interrogation, with Ted and a counterintelligence agent named Daryl Peabody watching from behind the glass. Orlov starts talking about something called Day X, a Russian plot that's been decades in the making. The plan? Destroy the United States from the inside. Russian children were taken, trained in secret facilities, given perfect American identities, embedded across the government, military, even intelligence agencies. These agents, called KAs, have been waiting quietly, patiently, for a signal. And Day X is almost here. Now, Peabody is writing this off as the ramblings of a crackpot, until Orlov says something that makes everyone freeze. He says the first move on Day X is the assassination of the Russian president, who is currently traveling to New York City to attend the funeral of the American vice president. And the name of the KA assigned to pull the trigger? Evelyn Salt, the woman currently in the room with him. Now the room goes from routine defector interview to absolute controlled panic in about 3 seconds. Peabody wants to hold Evelyn for questioning. Standard protocol. Evelyn swears she's innocent. But here's the problem. She can't reach Mike on the phone. And if Orlov's people know who she is, her husband is in danger. So she does the one thing that makes her look as guilty as humanly possible. She runs. What follows is one of the most gloriously chaotic office escapes ever put on screen. Evelyn takes on trained CIA security agents with her bare hands, improvises a weapon out of a chair and a fire extinguisher, and basically turns the building into her personal obstacle course. Peabody is in full pursuit. Ted, who genuinely believes in her innocence, is trying to slow things down, give her the benefit of the doubt. But Evelyn is gone. She gets home, finds her dog, but Mike's chair's knocked over, his food is half eaten, he's been taken. So now she knows this is real. Whoever Orlov is working with, they have her husband. She packs a bag, and I want you to appreciate what's in this bag. Clothes, a gun, some cash, and a live spider from Mike's collection. Because she married a spider scientist, and apparently some of that rubbed off. Winter and Peabody arrive at the apartment with a full SWAT team, just as Evelyn is climbing out the window. She slips into a neighbor's apartment, changes her clothes, catches her breath for exactly as long as she can afford, and disappears into the street. Winter spots her. A chase explodes across the city. She gets cornered near an overpass, looks down at the highway below her, sees a semi-truck rolling underneath, and jumps. She lands on the trailer, scrambles across it, leaps to the next truck, then the next, CIA agents firing at her the whole time, until she hits the ground running, steals a motorcycle, and loses them completely. The woman is built differently. She heads to a bar, steals another patron's coat and ID in the bathroom. No hesitation, no guilt, pure survival, and boards a bus to New York City. When she gets there, she rents a hotel room under the stolen identity, dyes her hair black, steals some clothes from the hotel hallway, and starts planning. She prints a subway map. She studies the layout of the cathedral where the vice president's funeral is happening. She is going to that funeral, which, again, not the most I'm innocent energy. The Russian president, President Medvedev, is in New York City for the funeral of the American vice president. This is a massive security operation. Secret Service everywhere. CIA all over the perimeter. And Evelyn Salt disguises herself, slips inside the church, and we spend the whole scene going, is she actually going to do it? Is she really a Russian sleeper agent? Did this sweet woman who loves her spider scientist husband really get trained since childhood to be an assassin? She positions herself beneath the floor of the church. She's planted explosives. Matveyev steps up to deliver a eulogy. The floor cracks, collapses. He falls into the rubble below, and Evelyn shoots. Peabody catches her almost immediately after. But even in custody, she escapes again, because she's Evelyn Salt, and handcuffs are more of a suggestion to her. Now here's where things get truly wild, because there's a barge on the river, and Orlov is on it, with other KAs, and Evelyn is heading straight for it, not to escape, to meet them. On the way to the barge, the movie finally opens up and shows us what's really going on inside Evelyn's head. Through a series of flashbacks, we learn the truth. Evelyn Salt was born in the Soviet Union. As a young girl, she was chosen by Orlov, her mentor, and placed into the KA program. She was given a new American identity, taught to speak perfect English, embedded in American culture, and eventually, get this, instructed to get close to a CIA analyst by the name of Ted Winter. Wait, hold on. She was told to seduce Ted Winter as part of her mission. But something went wrong. Or right, depending on how you look at it. Along the way, she met Mike, the spider guy. And she actually fell for him. Really fell for him. He wasn't a target. He wasn't an asset. He was just a kind, nerdy man who looked at her like she was the most important person in the room. And that was enough to crack something open in her. She chose love over the mission. And now she's on this barge, reunited with Orlov, playing the loyal KA when Orlov tests her. To prove her loyalty, he has Mike brought forward, and he has him killed, right in front of her. She doesn't react. She keeps her face still. She passes the test. But inside, she has just become the most dangerous woman on the planet. Not because Russia made her that way, because they just killed her husband. Orlov then gives her the next assignment: infiltrate the White House, assassinate the President of the United States. Kick off Day X for real. Now here's where the movie does something genuinely clever, because we've been watching Evelyn the whole time trying to figure out, is she good or bad? And the answer the movie has been building toward is, she's both and neither. She's someone who was made into a weapon, who chose to be a person, and now the weapon and the person are working toward the same goal, but for completely different reasons. She meets her contact the next morning, the NATO officer. On the flight to Washington, she recognizes him. He was one of the children from Orlov's training program, one of her classmates. He tells her she was always the best of them, that she'll be first to finish this. He explains the plan in detail. He will get them inside the White House. Then, he'll threaten the president, make himself into a suicide bomber, forcing the president to flee to the emergency bunker beneath the White House. And that's where Evelyn will be waiting. They get through White House security. The NATO officer makes his move. Chaos. The president is hustled toward the elevator, surrounded by agents, and Ted Winter is right there with him. Because Ted is trusted, Ted is one of the good guys. Ted goes everywhere the president goes. Except while everyone else takes the elevator down to the bunker, Evelyn is in the elevator shaft above them, leaping from floor to floor of the framework, descending faster than the elevator, getting to the bunker level first. She takes out the guards outside the main door and slips through just before it seals shut. Inside the bunker, the president is raising the alert to DEFCON 2. Russia is deploying nuclear weapons in retaliation for the assassination of their president by a CIA agent. The world is now on a countdown. The president is being given full authority to authorize a retaliatory missile strike. And then Ted Winter sees Evelyn on the security monitor. Ted orders everyone in the room to arm themselves. And then, with the calm efficiency of a man who has been waiting a very long time for this exact moment, Ted Winter pulls out a gun and kills every person in that bunker, every single one, until it's just him and the president. Ted Winter is a KA, the most trusted man in the CIA. Reliable, loyal, unquestioned Ted Winter. His real name is Nikolai Tarkovsky. He was trained by the same program, embedded for decades, not as a field agent, but as a long-term infiltrator, who worked his way up until he was standing right next to the most powerful man in the world. He tells the president to authorize a nuclear strike on Russia's enemies. The president refuses. Ted knocks him unconscious and uses the president's hand. Biometrics don't care if you're conscious, to begin the authorization sequence. The nuclear launch is now active. Evelyn is on the other side of a bulletproof window watching all of this. And she makes a decision. She starts talking to Ted through the glass. She plays it perfectly, appeals to him, asks why he never told her he was like her, begs to be let in, to be part of it. The two of them together finishing what they started. Ted hesitates, and then he moves toward the door to let her in. But at that exact moment, the news feed on the bunker television shows something that changes everything. The Russian president is not dead. Matveyev is alive. He was never killed. He was paralyzed, temporarily, by a toxin derived from spider venom. Mike's spiders. The spider Evelyn packed in her bag before she ran. She extracted venom from it in that hotel room in New York and made a man appear to be dead when he was simply frozen. She never completed the assassination. She simulated it. Ted's face changes. He tells her, through the glass, that he knew. He knew from the moment she came back from North Korea that she had fallen for Mike and was no longer the weapon they had built. That's why he arranged for Orlov to kidnap Mike. That's why Mike was brought onto that ship. That's why Mike was shot in front of her. Ted Winter killed her husband. Ted Winter was the architect of her entire nightmare. Evelyn fires her gun at the bulletproof glass. It doesn't break. So she goes to the access panel on the other side of the room and does something a regular person could not do. She rewires it, through the wall, under fire, until the door opens. They fight. Two people built by the same program, same training, same childhood, same handler, fighting over a nuclear launch console in a room beneath the White House. The authorization sequence is nearly complete. The Secret Service breaches the bunker. They overpower both of them. And in the chaos, Evelyn does one thing before she's restrained. She lunges for the computer and pulls the plug. She physically kills the authorization sequence. The missiles stand down. The president is alive. The launch is aborted. Both Salt and Winter are taken into custody and escorted up from the bunker. She's in handcuffs. She's been shot, but she was wearing a vest, so she's standing. And as they walk past the stairs, she sees Ted Winter nearby, getting his wounds treated. She moves without warning, wraps her handcuffs around his neck, jumps over the balcony, uses her own body weight to hang him. By the time anyone can intervene, he's gone, neck broken. She didn't do it in a rage. She didn't scream or cry. She did it with the same controlled stillness she used when Mike was shot in front of her on that ship. The difference is, this time, she chose it. On a helicopter ride out of there, Evelyn has one conversation left, with Peabody. She tells him the truth, all of it. The KA program, Orlov, Ted. The other sleeper agents still out there, still embedded, still waiting for someone to activate them. She tells Peabody the only reason she can be believed is because she left a trail, her fingerprints on the barge. evidence connecting everything. Peabody listens. He's skeptical. But he's smart, and the evidence checks out. So here's where we land at the end of Salt. The Russian president is actually alive. Evelyn used spider venom from Mike's collection to simulate death, not cause it. She never actually killed Matveyev. It was all misdirection, which, honestly, is peak spy move. She jumps off the helicopter into the Potomac River. Still a wanted woman. Still officially classified as a Russian sleeper agent, but alive, free, and now hunting down every other KA still hiding in the system. The movie ends on her disappearing into the water, and somewhere out there, a sequel was planned.